was young, if I said to my mum I was going to go to a snooker hall, she'd probably clip me around the ears. Bad places, you know, misspent youth, all those type of phrases. But the reality is, it's just ordinary blokes.
It's difficult to imagine now, with the wealth of tournaments in the game, a ranking list of 128 full-time professionals and a clean-cut image, that snooker was once the scene of a green baize class war between the suited and booted gents of the game and the knockabout lads of the high street. And snooker was the loser, as the new applicants, whose faces didn't fit, were blackballed out of the old boys' club.
The people that were professionals then were in charge of the game, and that would have been, of course, Fred Davis and Joe Davis, with John Pullman, of course. I think it was a bit of a closed shop sort of thing. It was our association. We were the players. It's our club. We're the members. We were gentlemen, you know, and we play in clubs. We dress well when we play and smoke a cigar, whatever. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about who's in charge. And the other chaps, they're down in the billiard hall, like, you know what I mean, knocking it about down there, and they're a bit, you know, sort of the riffraff.
There was never any trouble in billiard halls, you know. There were people there that could have probably given you more trouble than you'd have even dreamed of. They wouldn't have, it was like they were in home. I once had a dispute with someone who was quite capable to take my head off in another environment. And I said to him, if you keep continuing with what you're doing, I will ban you. And it was the best thing I could have ever said. He said, Barry, I've got nowhere else to go.
The game was full of characters back then. Characters like my old mentor, Vic Harris. He certainly knew who to keep the right side of.
Fellow in London called Patsy was a fantastic player, Patsy. But he was a villain, you know, and they wouldn't allow him to turn pro. He wasn't allowed to turn pro because he was a villain, and he was, you know, he was going to India for the World Amateur Championships, Patsy. And they found him in a warehouse. The police found him in a warehouse.
Vic won the 1981 English Amateur Championship, about the only way that you got nominated to turn pro back then.
If I wanted to turn pro, you had to be English champion, and that was it in one time. And then they allowed you to win the CIU Championship, the Working Men Club Championship, and that was the only two ways you could be a professional.
One man who suffered more than most was Ron Gross, who ran the Neasden Snooker Centre in his later years. He was influential and well respected on the London scene, promoting other talented players, not wanting them to miss out on their glory years.
Ronnie was a great safety player. He was like, he'd get in, and if there was 40 on, he'd take the 40, and you were nailed up in the bottom cushion. He was Granite Gross, they call him. That was his nickname, Granite Gross. Ronnie Gross won the English Amateur Championship 3 times. I think the first one was 1958. That would have been really where he should have been a professional. But he turned professional in 1972, 13 years later, when Alex just arrived on the scene, and young Alex was 21 and Ronnie was 50th.
In 1972, Gross and Houlihan were among the 4 amateur champions allowed to compete in the World Championship for the first time. They were knocked out in the qualifying competition, Ron Gross by the up-and-coming Alex Higgins. It wouldn't be too long before he hung up his cue.
Great talents like Ron Gross, Marcus Owen and Patsy Houlihan were kept in their seats for too long by the members' rules and regulations. And when they got the chance to turn pro, it was too late for most of them. But the London scene was a vibrant one, and it's tempting to look back at some of the legendary anecdotes through rose-tinted glasses.
Cues would be nicked out here on a regular basis. You know, you'd put the cue behind the bar, someone on the way out would put their hand around and nick the cue, or you'd go to the toilet and someone would nick the cue. But they'd come back weeks later, someone would sell it to someone else, and they'd come in playing with the cue, and they'd say, "Excuse me, that's not your cue, that's someone else's." In this toilet, I don't know if you'll be allowed to film this, but I'll show you. If you come here and look up there, that used to be, if the police come looking for people who was on the run or whatever, and they used to escape through there. God love them.
And that was sort of snooker in those days. So Reardon and Spencer and all that, they took it out of that, really. and made it respectable. So in the way that it was closed, it allowed it, I suppose, to grow in there. You know. He was a top of rim, yeah. Very good rim, very strong man, yeah. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Every time you see him, you put your hands up to him.
The game was very closed shop in those days. It opened up very soon afterwards, basically on the back of again BBC television, where the game was suddenly brought into the homes of millions and became a proper sport rather than just a pastime for the idle few, if you like. And people like Patsy Fagan, John Virgo, Houlihan was a little bit earlier, Davis comes on the back of all this wave where ability mattered more than who you knew.